In the very calm and simple city, here's the detective Inugami who arrives there to investigate some strange things that have been happening during the last days. Well, his journey didn't start well since his car broke down, so Mr. Kozaka hosts him in her house. On the way home, he noticed Kaban, who's working hard in the garden. He tries to start a conversation, but the kid stays focused on what he does. At night, Yataro presents himself to this guy from Tokyo, and he says that he'll be seeing his niece during his stay with them. But later, the detective insists to be served by Kaban instead. The little kid takes a shower and goes to see what the man needs. He prepares his breakfast, and on the table, the boy said that he knows what the secret investigation is about, since it deals with their rotting livestock carcasses. The detective Inugami wonders how the boy knows, so he answered him that his job to dispose of the bodies. Up to now, there have been 6 that have died. Many of them have been chickens, and a common thing in between is all their organs were completely chewed up. Something as awful as this must be done by monsters only, if they even exist. And also, the boy finds the bodies in the night of a new moon, so probably something will happen during the next new moon. The detective got enough clues, and the next moon is after 5 days, so all he has to do now is to wait. In the next morning, he decides to help Kaban in the garden. All the citizens look at him in shock for some reason, but he keeps doing that anyway. One day, while they are working, the detective noticed Kaban's necklace. The boy said it is found on his neck, and it might belong to his parent who abandoned him. After taking a look on it, the detective explained that it is a life stone, only formed under special circumstances. There is a certain component that only exists within this stone, which makes it a precious object. In that regard, no one would leave it with a kid and throw him away. There must be some reason why the hostess had to take him in. The detective insists that he was not abandoned. At night, Yataro comes and furiously beats Kaban because he took away his chance of going to Tokyo by staying with the detective. Yataro takes off his necklace and something so terrifying happens. Kaban turns to be a monster, and after scaring the other boy, he rushes to take his necklace back, and right after touching it, he returns to his normal body. He started crying alone until the detective appears and shows him his tail. He explained that from time of fury, there have been beings who lurk in the shadows, living among humans but undetected by them, known as Kemono. Traditionally, Kemono are shy. However, more recently some have found themselves unnecessarily entangled with men, so entangled they having kids with them. They are not just one of case. Multiple have been reported like Kaban. The boy is what's known as a Hanyo, the child of a human and a cooler, a bloodless demon, and the life stone around his neck prevent his thirst from manifesting it. Simply keeps him from impulsively attacking people, and as long as he has that stone, he can remain a human, and the detective is not a human either. He shows him how he can create a gun with his hands free. Then they talk about the presence of something dangerous that causes the death of the animals in that horrible way. They are called coolers. Kaban remembers that Yataro is outside, so they rushes to save him, and they arrive in the right time. They saved him, and in order to kill those coolers, they have to cut off their heads. Soon after this, the detective made up Kaban's death like the hostess asked for. In fact, he will take him to Tokyo where they will start a new journey. In the new city, he meets Akira and Shiki Tadimaru, and they will be sharing the same apartment from now on. The boy doesn't like him anyway, and the pretty girl seems to be soft and sensitive, and he has to deal with this new lifestyle since they are all detectives and they all work together as a team. In the next morning, the investigation team was called to a site to see something so strange. Inugami explains the problem is created by creatures called Sershi or 3-corpse bugs. Usually they are harmless little creatures that nibble a human's skins a bit while he sleeps. Unfortunately, they do have some favorite dishes, and such a dish is inside that room. Once they take it out of there, the bugs will stop swarming and go back to their nest. Someone has to get inside to take away the dish. Shiki tries a smart move by using his sticky wires, but the bugs start eating it as well, so they had to close the door of the room again. Kaban volunteers next, since he's a cooler and he can't feel pain, and also he doesn't have blood. The plan works and he saved the mother and her son. After he saw how the kids run to their mother and the love and care which were between them, he made a deal with the team. He says that he will work with them, but in exchange, they must help him to find his true parents. At night, Shiki opens up about his mother, who was an Arcany or a spider camel. That's why his sweat and saliva are both like spider silk, but she abandoned him. They go to sleep after this, believing in the day when they will meet their parents, and no one knows if that will ever happen. In the next morning, the detective presents the lady Inariyoko, who is a kitsune Kemono, but she holds a powerful position with the police, so he asks the 2 other kids to take him to see her since he's a new member in their team. But before leaving, Inugami hands Kaban something and he says that is a good luck charm. On their way to Shinjuku police station, Kaban seems to be shocked of how crowded Tokyo is, but the kids tell him that he will get used to it. As they arrive, the receptionist doesn't let them in until a girl named Kan comes and asks for Kaban, because Inariyoko wants him alone. She takes him to another room and pushes him inside. As he raises his head, he sees the lady waiting right there for him. She already knows too much about him, his past life with his aunt, all the other thing. Then she asks him if she can see his rare necklace. After taking it, she explains how Kemono like them absorb energy, mental, physical, emotional, sensory, and whatever other types humans produce. By having such a rare stone, they will not need humans to feed them anymore. and then Khan cuts off his head. The lady takes the stone away and asks the girl to kill the other 2 kids who are waiting outside. As she holds Carbonate's head in a case, she goes outside and burns the fire in the police station. Shiki asks her to stop since there are citizens inside, but she doesn't listen, so he manages stealing the case from her. When he opens it to see its content, he gets shocked by seeing a talking head and Akira passes out. Khan furiously attacks them, but they manage hiding upstairs. The talking head asks Shiki to throw him to Khan in order to bite her neck and kill her, and this plan works. The huge fire in the station turns to be an illusion, and it disappeared right after the death of its creator, and the head regenerates its body in an unbelievable way. When they get out of the station, they meet Inugami, who explained how the woman confirmed his doubt because he didn't trust her. He didn't trust her since the beginning, and the good luck charm he gave to Carbonate was actually a fake life stone, and they will still have the real stone. Inari found out that she had been scammed, but she was too late. Later this night, the kids ate in a restaurant, but as they come out, Khan surprises them. She followed them all the way, but before she attacks, she falls down of hunger. They take her home, they feed her, and after this, someone comes into the bar. He starts crying and reveals his true love, but he doesn't know her name or anything about her life except that she is a cat Kemono. Kaban hears what the gentleman says about love, so he decides to go with him and find his girl, and at the same time, he will understand love since his human father fell in love with his Kemono mother and they give birth to him. The detective didn't mind and asked the 3 other kids to help him. Khan also was asked to go, and if she will help them, Inugami will give her Kaban's head. They will go out to the place where the man saw the girl, and Khan manages catching it. The cat woman, they made her listen to the gentleman, and he said all what he feels about her. The story ended very well, but Khan asked for Kaban's head like the detective promised her, but he just tricked her by giving her a fake head. In the next morning, Inugami asked Akira and Carbonate to go to a river that flows under Shibuya. Right now, they are doing some work to divert it, but some of the workers have been meeting unnatural deaths. They have to check the reason behind those unnatural deaths. The river may be called a sewer because all the buildings are around it, so it must be disgusting. As they get inside the tunnel, the girls start telling the story of her little snowy village that is located in the mountains of Aomori, and their clan was called Yokinoko. They live following a unique system. It's all female and males of the clan are only born every 100 years. And that is why the other villagers used to give them both funny looks all the time. She was a weakling who did nothing but cry, and her twin brother was always trying to cheer her up. That is why Carbonate reminds her of him. But unfortunately, and as the 2 siblings are fleeing the village, they got separated, and that is why she asked Inugami to make her more powerful just in order to find her twin brother. Then while she's trying to show him her ability to freeze water, a big frog attacks her, and Hatanoki appears and saves her life. The animal brought a letter from Inugami which says that he discovered something new. The indigenous inhabitant down there in the river are frog Kemono. They are also the perpetrators of all the unnatural deaths. They become burned after eating humans. They have lost their intelligence, forgotten their pride, and now they attack people on instinct. If they are not killed, they will pose a danger to other people outside, not just in the river. So he gives him a vial of blood as an attractant, so they drop it in the river and all the frogs come out. While Hatanoki and the boy are fighting, in fear, Erika releases her power and freezes the river, including all the frogs, and they ended the problem of the river. In the day after, the kids discovered the presence of a strange guy in the apartment where they lived during all the past days. His name is Mihai the Vampire, and he stays in his room in the darkness all the time. Outside, Kaba meets Kon crying in the public park, and she tells him that her lady doesn't care about her at all. She replaced her with another boy, so she has nowhere else to go. The boy asks her to fight him to see how strong she is, but he defeats her, the thing which made her cry more. Back to the vampire in the house, who finally got out of his room for the first time in a while, since he can't play because of the wound in his hand. And as he is in the office, he accepts a job offer and forces the team to go out to it. Outside in the park, the girl falls asleep, but Kaban wakes her up and suggests asking Inugami to let her stay in the same apartment, but she refuses and prefers to stay with him only. The boy goes back to the team and buys the dinner, but he promised Kon to go back to her. At home, the kids gather to discuss the mission. The vampire tells them the story of Bugapite's electronics. 4 years ago, 16 people committed suicide in 1 year at one of their factories. They were bashed by people outside and in danger of going bankrupt, but the year after, the company underwent a huge turnaround and had 0 suicides. Suddenly, their notoriety vanished and people do not hate them at all. For the mission, Shiki once read an article online about insects that can mimic things, so he tries if his silk could do that too. Then all the kids were sent to the factory, and the vampire at home controls a small toy with cameras everywhere to see what's happening to the employees. Shiki could capture the employees of the factory. They work even harder than they are supposed to do. One of the workers ran out in a shock, but a woman called Reika comes and takes him to a different lab where a big insect Kemono sucks blood from his brain. Couple of minutes later, he goes back to work and seems to forget the pain. Those Kemonos are torturing the employees and force them to give even more than what they can. Shiki feels scared of what he saw, and unfortunately, one of the Kemono insects, who's named Erika, discovered him, and when she's about to suck his blood, the vampire saves him by shocking her using his toy. The boys get traumatized of that instinct and freezes in the ground. The two other kids, Akira and Kaban, are on their way to him, and they catch one of the Kemonos, Momoka, and take her with them. At the same time, Shiki manages fixing Erika with his spider silk. The three investigators gather and discuss what they should do with the three hostages. Kaban suggests killing them, but before he finishes his word, Raika shows up. She seems to be the most powerful. She starts sucking her sister's blood and kills them. Then she jumps to the kids. She's stopped by Kaban, who resists, but she's way stronger than him. His two other friends try to save him, but it is useless. So the vampire asks him to follow his instincts and forget his human identity. By following these instructions, he will release his Kemono powers, and indeed, he breaks her two arms and makes her bleed till death. Before he leaves, a young boy comes and introduces himself. His name is Nobimaru, and he works for Lady Inari. He starts by burning the bodies of Kemonos to ash, so that humans can find out about them. Then he says something to Kaban. About the lady, she hasn't given up on taking his life stone, but they don't plan to use force, and they believe he will give it to them of his own volition, or they will kill his friends. The boy couldn't sleep and spent the night thinking about those words. In the morning, he remembers Kon and rushes toward her. Back to the apartment where Shiki asks Inugami to find his mother. The team caught Akio Tadimaru, who seems to know more details about the disappearance of Shiki's mother. Monsters start coming from everywhere, and the detective Inugami gets injured in his hand. He starts bleeding while Kaban fights the others. At the same time, all those creatures start saying all what Shiki's mother used to say, and make the boy emotional and misses his mom. On the other side, Akira and the detective are trying to find a way to stop the monsters until a small pretty girl with pink hair shows up and stops them in an eye blink. Then she takes Inugami to a magical river. By putting his hand in water, the injury gets healed. Back to Kaban, who managed killing all the creatures and leaves Akio Tadimaru for last. He gives Shiki the honor to kill him after getting all the information that he wants. Death was unavoidable. The team gathered, and the detective calls the vampire, who's smart enough to figure out this problem. And indeed, he convinced the pretty little girl to show Shiki the way to his mother. Everything is related to the river. She starts running, and the boy follows her. And when he arrives to the water, he takes his jacket off and dives inside, where he finally finds his mother down there alive. He brings her out and takes her away to a place where she will take the necessary treatment, and they leave Akio Tadimaru behind, but Nobimaru kills him. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, but in order to see Kaban's parents, you have to wait for the next part. Until then, take care.